I'm Sebastian De Leon, a UNE NBS student. Now, it is October the 18th, and it is a cool Friday night. Between today and tomorrow, I'm going to be preparing, practicing, and filming my Unit 2 case study assignment, which consists of delivering the answers to two out of the four provided case study prompts. Now, I'm going to be doing case study 2 first. Case study 2 is in regards to a 16-year-old female that was recently diagnosed with a deficiency of muscle glycogen phosphorylase. Now, her and her family are naturally concerned over the nature of her disease, so they come with many questions, which I'm going to be doing my best to answer as a physician. Now, I need to keep in mind that when I communicate science and biomedicine to a patient, I need to do so in a manner that they can understand. It's important to educate a patient efficiently, and by doing so, you need to bridge the gap between your expertise and the surface level knowledge that the patient will most likely have. So, but for the purposes of this assignment, I am going to be focusing on using specific terms. I need to be stating enzymes, I need to be stating some processes, and I need to be a little bit more specific for the assignment. So that's the explanation. And without further ado, case study 2. So the patient's first question was, I'm not sure I understand the issue. Can you explain how muscle glycogen is used normally during exercise? Absolutely. What I would tell the patient is, as you burn off the blood sugar that is available to your muscle cells during exercise, they will then turn to glycogen, which is stored up like grain in a silo. Unfortunately, since you have McArdle's disease, and you present a deficiency in the enzyme responsible for converting the glycogen into usable glucose, then you're going to tire out quicker. The biochemical interpretation of this is that the glycogen is stored in muscles and broken down by muscle glycogen phosphorylase, the deficient enzyme. The process converts glycogen into glucose for energy production in glycolysis. Glycogen is converted to glucose 1-phosphate, which is then converted into glucose 6-phosphate and used in glycolysis to produce ATP. The second question the patient had is, I really like to take long walks. Will I still be able to do this with my friends? I would tell the patient, absolutely, you're not going to have to miss out on that. You will be perfectly capable of going on walks with your friends, but you do have to keep in mind that you may tire quicker. Since your muscles aren't able to convert the energy that they've stored up for use, you might have to take longer breaks, walk at a more moderate pace, or take it easier. But I'm sure if you let your friends know that you do have this condition, they'll be more than happy to slow it down for you or work with you. Now, the biochemical interpretation of this is that, yes, the patient is going to tire out a lot quicker because they don't have the enzyme to break down the glycogen, which is stored up in the cell, into usable glucose during exercise. Unfortunately, McArdle's disease causes patients to tire quicker during exercise since they can't tap into those important reserves. The third question was, as a result of this deficiency, will I need to get up late into the night to eat in order to maintain my blood glucose levels? And the answer would be, unless the patient is experiencing the symptoms of weakness, dizziness, nausea, or shakiness that comes with low blood sugar, then you don't have to worry about getting up and getting a carbohydrate boost in the middle of the night. It is important to address your condition by eating nutritious meals during the day and having snacks in the hours between meals, as when your body enters the fasted state, you will start to rely more and more on that blood glucose, and once that's gone, you'll start to feel tired. So keep that in mind, and if you regulate this properly, you won't have any problem living your day-to-day life. The biochemical interpretation of this is that, yes, the patient is going to burn off energy throughout the day normally, and once they burn it off, they'll have to quickly replenish it by eating a meal or a quick snack. As long as these levels are maintained in the blood successfully, and the patient is not presenting with low blood sugar symptoms, then they don't have to worry about interrupting sleep. The fourth question is, do I need to worry about producing excessive lactate during intense anaerobic exercise? And I will tell the patient that yes, it is normal to produce lactate during intense anaerobic exercise because as you burn off the available oxygen in the blood, your body turns to an anaerobic pathway, which exists in the absence of this oxygen and leads to a buildup of lactate, which presents as lactic acid. This will cause you to cramp up and feel tired. Now, with your condition, you will have a more notable and expedited increase in lactate production as you burn off the blood sugar glucose and unfortunately can turn to the glycogen available, which means you will have an earlier switch to the anaerobic pathway, which leads to the lactate buildup. But this is no worry. You can feel free to continue to do the exercises you enjoy to partake in. However, do keep in mind that your body is the best sensor and to listen to it accordingly. You may feel tired earlier due to McArdle's disease. The biochemical interpretation of this is that if the patient experiences symptoms of fatigue, they should listen to their body and slow down if they feel tired or sore, as this could lead to more unfavorable consequences. The absence of sufficient glucose within the muscle cell means that they burn off the blood glucose, and once that's gone, then there's nothing to turn to, and the patient will tire out a lot quicker. Okay. I'll be presenting my second case study. I chose case study 4 for this one. The prompt is as follows. A previously healthy 2-month-old female presents with jittery spells several hours after breastfeeding. Her mother reports she has not given the baby anything to eat other than breast milk since birth. This is going to be important information for excluding one of the 4 possible choices. The baby has only recently been sleeping more than 2 hours between feedings, and that's when the mother reports these symptoms started. Laboratory results are consistent with hypoglycemia or low blood glucose, but are otherwise unremarkable. Epinephrine is administered and there is no increase in blood glucose, but there is an increase in blood lactose. The physical exam reveals the liver's edge is 4 centimeters below the right costal margin, and percussion of the chest and the abdomen confirms that there is hepatomegaly, which is an enlarged liver. Blood glucose levels also increase after breastfeeding, but she cannot maintain these glucose levels within a normal range during the fasting period. The 4 answer choices were glycogen storage disease, hereditary fructose intolerance, galactosemia, or galactose in the blood, and glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. First, I'll be going over why the incorrect answers are incorrect. Option A, hereditary fructose intolerance, is incorrect because this condition is due to the deficiency of aldose B, which leads to an accumulation of fructose 1-phosphate. The symptoms arise after the introduction of fructose or sucrose into the diet. We can easily eliminate this option because, as we know, breast milk makes about 84 to 95% of the carbohydrate content within human breast milk. The second incorrect option, B, galactosemia, is incorrect because galactosemia is a condition caused by the deficiency in galactose 1-phosphate uridyltransferase, leading to the toxic accumulation of galactose and galactose 1-phosphate. The symptoms typically occur after the ingestion of lactose containing foods, such as breast milk in this example, and the symptoms of galactosemia can include hepatomegaly, which is consistent with the case thus far. However, the metabolic profile does not match up with galactosemia, as we have decreased levels of glucose in the blood during fasting and increased levels of lactose. The third and final incorrect answer was D, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. Now, this is a condition which primarily leads to anemia due to the oxidative stress rather than hypoglycemia itself. While it can cause increased lactate levels during hemolytic events, it would not typically result in hepatomegaly or fasting hypoglycemia in the newborn. Now we can go over the correct answer. I chose this to be glycogen storage disease because hepatomegaly is a good indicator of glycogen being stored at high levels within the liver, which would require an inoperable conversion of glycogen to glucose, which will lead to low blood glucose levels after meals, which we see in the patient. This is something similar to what I noticed in case study 2, with the patient becoming more and more fatigued during periods of exercise. where they exhaust the blood glucose levels and fail to convert the glycogen into glucose, I mean. So we know that glycogenolysis is not functioning properly because after we administer epinephrine, as said in the prompt, we don't see an increase in blood glucose. We see the inverse, an increase in blood lactate, which then leads to an increase in the anaerobic metabolism and lactic acid accumulation. The jittery spells and the exhibition of the low blood glucose levels during fasting suggest that hypoglycemia is the culprit